it was like just a couple weeks after we had started working together,
Yeah.
and he said something. He was like in the kitchen doing something. He's like, "Oh, this will be done in about like half an hour or whatever." And I was like, "Oh, cool. Like, I'm not pressed. That sounds great." And he was like, "Wow." He's like, "You haven't been like that in like a year and a half." And I was like,
Oh,
"Oh my God, I'm sorry. I didn't even realize how
yeah.
like completely like wound up and
Yeah.
just like freaked out I had been." But
Oh.
me just being like, "Okay, half an hour, that sounds good." Because before I'd be like, "Okay, half an hour, I could get this much done in this time." And okay, oh God.
Hello and welcome to the third season of Podcast to Connect, where we are sharing ways for you to grow your audience. This season, we're tracking my work with April from Doorkey Podcast, who you just saw and you'll see again in just a minute. We're working on her audience growth, and by therefore giving you, tips and tricks on how you can increase your audience growth as well. In this and the next episode, we're going to share something different than the previous ones in this season. April's going to be sharing progress in Doorkey Podcast, what she has seen that has changed over the months that we've been working together. This episode will be talking about qualitative things, non-numeric things, not downloads, other indications that things have gotten better. And you already heard part of that just before I started talking here. And you'll hear more very shortly. And the next episode, we will be digging into those podcast downloads and other quantitative things on how your podcast is growing. So those are the two that are coming, this one and the next one, and then that's the end of the season. If you haven't seen the first 6 episodes, you might want to go back and take a peek. There are tips and tricks in each one, as well as companion guides for every episode. And if you go over to podcasttoconnect.substack.com, you can get the link to all of those companion guides, which help you do the things that April and I are sharing with you in these episodes. Without further ado, let's go on to the changes that April noticed in Doorkey Podcast during the time that we've been working together. Do you remember what you said last week? Because you started this off and my brain just went off in a big direction. But do you remember exactly where that started?
Not verbatim, but I do remember being like, "Okay, yes, like I want to do that, but I have to make sure that I have some writing done because I don't have anything banked up as far as episodes written." And
Mm-hmm.
I was a bit concerned about that. And so I said that I needed at least the weekend to kind of just
Mm-hmm.
write and get that kind of backed up again.
Yeah. Yeah. And we've been going pretty hard with the marketing stuff and I'm looking at it now. I think we actually started in April, which should be easy for me to remember.
Yeah.
Right. But for some reason, I think because it's so similar to your name, I somehow block it out. But I actually wrote it down here. We started working together on April 27th.
Oh my
So we've been
goodness.
going pretty long with the go, 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 go with the marketing stuff. So yeah. So end of April to end of May, end of June, end of July, and almost 4 months.
Oh my gosh.
So, and when you said that was about the 3-month mark.
Yeah.
Which is what made me actually think of the tandem like audience growth program being 3 months. Because honestly, I think that's kind of the end of a creative sprint. Like I think we can do like growth, 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 and then we need like regular. Was it just not having banked episodes that made you realize this, or like what was the indicator? Like what clicked for you that made you think, hold on, I need to go back to my regular rhythm?
Well, yes, not having episodes banked up really kind of concerned me. And not just like not having an episode like fully recorded. I mean, I didn't have a full one written.
Mm-hmm.
Like I have some like half written, and I have like a whole list of ideas and stuff, but being able to have like an episode written and ready to go is it for my peace of mind.
Yeah.
It's important. And I was out and I was like, "Oh, I need time to just be able to focus on on that and writing the episode so that
Yeah.
I have something to record.
So if I remember your workflow, it was write, record, edit, and then marketing. Is that right? Or
Mhm.
did I miss something?
No, that sounds about right. Yeah.
Okay. So you freed up time in the editing process, like a lot, like 4 days, and you can put
Like,
that into
wow.
marketing. But we
Yeah.
did so much marketing that you got behind on the writing.
Yes. But I was ahead with the writing, so it's
Yeah.
okay. Yeah.
Okay, good. Good, good,
Yeah,
good.
yeah, yeah. Yeah.
How long do you take for the writing? Is that like a few days as well, or?
Um, honestly, it
Mm.
kind of depends, but generally I'll like have a day and be like, okay, this is the day I'm gonna write.
Mhm.
And so I just kind of that's what I do. And
Mhm.
you know, and then depending on how far I get, like the next day I'll kind of go over it and like edit. But sometimes it's done.
Mhm.
You know, sometimes I have time to uh edit the first draft
Yeah.
this, you know, the first day, but I'd like to give myself like 2 days just because,
Mhm.
you know, it is like I do, you know, my episodes are not quite a half hour, but about, and so that's
Mhm.
that's kind of a lot, and I have a lot to say usually.
But for the episodes that you do get out fairly quickly, how do
Yeah.
you know when to stop researching and when to start recording?
Um, I don't. I kind of just I try to not get too off track.
Yeah.
Um, you know, I when I listen to podcasts, I find that getting a little bit off track and getting a little
Mhm.
into the weeds is interesting to me.
Yeah.
Um, but I I see a lot of complaints when people get too, so I do try to restrain myself. I
Mhm.
um it's all just kind of ins instinct. It's like,
Mhm.
you know, I I don't know. I don't have
You
any
just
hard
said it. You
rules.
just said it. No, no,
Yeah,
I was listening. It's instinct. So it's
yeah,
very much an organic creative process where you just kind of feel the pull from one stage to the next and you just go, "That's it. That's enough. Let's record it." And
yeah,
then you record it and you go, "All right, enough takes. Let's just go ahead and edit it." So it's a very organic pull from one stage to the next, it sounds
yeah.
like.
And I already have the script when I'm recording. I already have
Mhm.
the script written. So
Yeah.
any sort of curiosity, I will have already, you know, so I'll be like, well, wait, how did they know that? And so I'll look that up.
Yeah.
And so I might do like a little, oh, and by the way, this is how I found, you know, I didn't know this, but you know, and I try to be
Mhm.
really transparent and honest about that because
Mhm.
I don't try to
Mhm.
portray myself as an expert or anything because I'm not, but I don't know. It's I guess things that I would find I don't know. I guess if I find it interesting, I would hope that other people would
Mhm.
too, or at least understand why I would find it interesting and excuse the the veering off.
Yeah. Is it okay with you if we talk about the side notes?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Yeah, because that was the one thing when I started editing your podcast that I was like, the most interesting part for me were your side notes. And you would say side note, and then you'd say
Yeah,
like a not critique, but like a comment on the historical fact that you just presented. And I was like,
yeah,
you don't need to warn people that your info is coming or that your opinion or your input's coming. I think that's it's clear that the historical fact is over and here comes April. So I was like, what if we took out side note? And I think it actually is less choppy taking those out because there were so many of them too. So
yeah.
I don't know. What do you think? Are you comfortable with that or do you want them to come back?
I'm comfortable with it.
Okay.
The only reason I did that to begin with was
Mhm.
because I didn't want people to be like, "Oh God, how long is she going to ramble?" And so I felt like if I said side note, they would be prepared. Okay, she's going to ramble, but she realizes it and it's going to be
Ah,
contained. And that, I
Yeah.
guess that was so
Yeah.
that's the only reason I did it, because usually it was only like a sentence or two, but I
Yeah.
felt like I try very hard to not get too off
Mhm.
topic, and so I would kind of try to warn people.
Yeah, not to spoil too much because this is a historical figure, but when Marie Curie's something happened to her husband and you said she was devastated, I'm devastated. I screamed out to my computer, "So am I!"
Oh, I know. I
'Cause
was like, no.
I, ju- I didn't realize how much I didn't know about her. And I didn't realize the love story that was involved in it. And I didn't
Yeah,
realize that tragic event. And I just was like,
I know.
but
I
you
know.
adding those elements to me was just like next level. Just of course I want to hear April's
Oh,
input on all of this because you were the lens that we're hearing all of this. You're weaving the story. So okay, let's get back to the workflow.
yes.
So write, record, edit, marketing. Now that you're taking more time to do the writing part, you're still doing the marketing part. How do you think in the future, and this is all speculative, I'm not going to hold you to it or like send you a WhatsApp message, you're not doing what you said. If it's different, but how do you see this kind of changing in the future now that you have that extra time that you're not putting into all the extra stuff you used to do?
I'm hoping that I will not only will my content improve because
Mhm.
I have more time to spend on it,
Yeah.
but I'm hoping to have more free time.
That.
Yes, to
Yeah.
do, to actually like
Mhm.
read books,
Mhm.
to maybe even play a video game, like
Mhm.
because I am a dork, and and just and not, I don't feel like I have a whole lot of free time still, but at the
Mhm.
same time, the time that I do have, I don't feel as frantic and
Mhm.
stressed out
Mhm.
and rushed and just nervous, like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh, like I have been.
A lot of times when we're speakers like we are as podcasters, we don't necessarily have our speaking voice in our writing, and that it wouldn't send the right signal to people if they're looking at your text. So it's really matching all of that up. That
Yeah,
is really fun for me.
yeah,
I know that sounds because I also love writing, but I've been writing with my speaking voice for so long that it doesn't even dawn on me that a lot of times that people don't. So I'm like, oh wait, that doesn't sound like you at all. And like massaging it, I find really fun. Massaging with ChatGPT, I find especially fun because it's a lot of back and forth
yes,
stuff. And so aligning all of that it's so geeky fun. You're writing in the beginning, but you're also doing Substacks afterwards. So you're writing at the end too as part of the marketing, not just the social media posts you've been doing the whole time, but you're doing like long, really interesting Substack posts. So you're doing more writing, in fact.
I know. I
And
I think I really love writing.
you do. And I was like, wow, I didn't realize that. At first, I was like, does she feel like she has to write long or does she like it? And as I was reading your posts at first, I was like, oh no, this girl loves writing. I was like, that's amazing. I did not know that. I should have known that about you because you write your scripts. But I didn't realize it until I saw your Substack. And I was like, that's so cool. So yeah, we've given you more work and you're more relaxed and more confident. My work
I
here is done.
like on paper that doesn't
Yeah.
sound like that should work like that, but it
Mhm.
it it has. It does,
Yeah.
and it has. So,
Yeah.
thank you.
Because what
Yeah.
you've done probably, my Dr. Fuccio assessment, I'm not really a doctor, but my assessment is that you've leaned into the things that you like and let go of the things that you don't like or that you can't control.
Yeah,
And you're just like, "Bah, whatever.
yeah.
I'm just gonna do." Yeah.
And you said the keyword control.
Hmm.
I
Oh.
didn't realize how much of a control freak I am,
Mhm.
and wow.
It's
And
hard.
it's good to let that go. Like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh, it's freeing.
I hope someday to do that. I have just recently realized I'm a perfectionist, so I've got a long way to go to letting go. But yeah, that's amazing. You're my inspiration on that.
my, my husband teases me and calls me Monica from Friends, and so he'll be like, "Okay, Monica,"
Yeah.
and I'm like,
Yeah.
"I'm breezy," like this is me being breezy. He's like,
Yeah. No. Yeah. No, it's hard. I mean, there's so many levels of vulnerability in this process of making a podcast. Every part of it is you. I mean, the information is other people's and you're putting it together, but it's through your lens. It's your voice. It's your
Yeah.
editing. It's your writing. It's your, like, every part of it is you. And so I completely get wanting to make sure that it's controlled in a way that is what you want it to be, so that your project, I know you're not supposed to call creative things your babies, because you would never kill your babies and you need to massage your projects, but honestly, it is a creation. It's something that's coming out of us.
Yeah.
It's hard to let that go. So
Oh, thanks.
applause to that. Yeah.
When I call you my fairy godmother of my podcast, like I'm not even kidding. Like
That makes me so happy.
it is magic. Like what you have done is magic, and what you have taught me and what you've brought to this podcast is like it's incredible, and it's an amazing program. I'm saying it again because it truly, like, the difference between then and now
Mm.
is remarkable.
Mhm.
And not, I mean, not just in the quality of my episodes and my writing and all that, but just my own peace of mind
Mhm.
and just my outlook on it all. Like
Mhm.
I feel like I have a much better handle on it, and that's all because of you and this program. And wow. My episode right now is about
Mm.
Helen Keller, and
Mhm.
I put an emphasis on the partnership between
Mhm.
Helen Keller and
Yes.
her teacher Anne Sullivan.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
I think Helen Keller was amazing, and I think what she
Mhm.
accomplished is amazing, but I don't think she would have been able to accomplish as much as she did
Mhm.
without that partnership that she
Mhm.
had with Anne Sullivan. And
Mhm.
I mean, obviously completely different scenario, but I kind of feel like that, like with our partnership. Like I wouldn't be able to have done even half as much as I've done without you and your support and your tips and suggestions. And one of my favorite things to do is Substack. And I wouldn't even have a Substack without you. Like, you're the one that suggested I have one. And I was like, all right. And then I started it and was like, whoa, I
Yeah.
love this. And like, I didn't know I would, like, I don't know if you purposely were like, oh, she would really like this. But just that you suggested it was like, it's like you knew. You know what I mean? And so, anyway, I'm
I
sorry. I'll stop rambling.
No, I was trying not to ugly cry, because I am a very, I can't, I'm not one of those people that could, like, happy or sad cry with just a tear running down my face. I,
Yeah,
like,
no,
squinch and do all kinds of stuff, and I was trying not to do that,
same.
because what you said was
Oh,
really touching. And honestly, when I saw you posting on social media last week about that, about Helen Keller and her teacher, I was thinking the same thing, and I was
yeah.
like, "Don't be so important, self-important. Come on now."
Nope. Nope. It's not, because believe me, that crossed, I mean, it more than crossed my mind. I was like, yeah. And like I I know that's silly because it
No.
obviously it's a different but it is the truth, and it's I was definitely like, you are my insult. You're my fairy godmother, and just, oh.
I take all of that and I thank you for that. And I thank you for this because none of this could happen without the pinging back and forth.
Yes.
And whether it's a success or a failure, the tandem program is something that is so me. Like I never even thought to do something like that. And to offer that and to have that kind of interactive experience is just the epitome. I mean, I was a language instructor for like almost 20 years before I shifted into podcasting. And to combine those two in this way is just like,
Yeah.
it's just like the epitome of everything makes sense in my life, you know? I know that sounds so simplistic, but it
No.
brings everything together
Yeah.
in a way that makes sense. Powerful stuff. I intentionally put this episode, the qualitative one without numbers, before the quantitative changes one, because I want you to hear the different things that can get better with your podcast that aren't just the numbers. It's important. It's something to look at. It can help you track certain things. Those numbers are important, but it's a bigger picture. There's other things. And I hope you've gotten a bigger picture of the different things that have changed with April's podcast over the past few months that we've been working together. There will be a companion guide available soon over on podcasttoconnect.substack.com. We'll see you for the final episode of the season in 2 weeks.